The true nature of our very being is to be in harmony. Hi, everyone. Steve Jobs once wrote, "This has been my mantra, focus and simplicity." Simple can be much harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end because once you get there, you can move mountains. Hi, friend. I'm so glad you're joining us here at Treasures for the Tao. Taoism's core teaching, you've heard me say this before, is both simple and profound because the true nature of our very being is to be in harmony. That's our true nature. There are patterns in the essence of nature, and we are individualized expressions of nature as human beings, that we can follow and experience what the ancient sages said thousands and thousands of years ago, that a human being only has two desires, and that is to have a peaceful mind and a joyful heart. The steps for this is to live in simplicity and to focus on harmony. You know, on the surface, simplicity, simple living is multidimensional. It's the management of our daily activities within the confines of a 24-hour period. It's the management of our dreams come true. It's the management of leaning forward and then leaning back. I know in the world of corporate America, there was a book that came out that said, lean forward, just get clear. And I get the message, but I really wanted to hear about leaning back and letting go too. To live simply means to live in the flow without journeying too far from our center point. Buddhism asks us to live in the middle of the road. It's one of their core protocols, if you will. To live simply means to embrace the concept of the middle way. And to live simply literally means to embrace the center point between action and non-action. It is indeed the voice of harmony. So if this is our center point and we're right here, we can live and move not right on center 100% of the time, but an inch or two off. And then as we start to get away from our center point, we get into our addictions and compulsions. And when we get way out from our center point, we get into terrorism. We become so disassociated with our center that we can actually experience violence in our lives. Simplicity, however, has a deeper meaning. The Sanskrit word for simplicity is sama, S-A-M-A, and it literally means the center point between ease and effort. So if we're overdoing and we're exhausted, the invitation is to just sit back, lean back and relax and do some meditation and maybe some drawing or some reading. Just chill. If we are unmotivated and sitting around all day doing nothing, then we have an opportunity to take charge of our natural abilities and get out there and be productive. It takes courage to do that. And that's what it's all about. So, imbalance, which is the opposite of harmony in simplicity, causes people to feel exhausted, overwhelmed, and just ready to snap. I've been there. I've seen people do it. I've had many clients over the years. And the problem with all of this is that imbalance has become the new norm, and we don't even know it. COVID, I think, has brought it back home. We were way out of balance. And now that we're starting to get out a little bit, My dream is that people come from a place of harmony and the wisdom of their soul instead of getting back into the rat race. So you've heard me talk about this before. There are three things that block the sunshine of harmony in our lives. The first one is arrogance. The second one is the love of calamity. And the third one is materialism. Arrogance is when we go, you're the problem, not me. And these people who are arrogant they have tough learnings in life. We all do. But arrogant people can really struggle because it's not about them. And living a life of balance and simplicity requires honoring yourself in a healthy way. The love of calamity. I came from a family that loves calamity, drama, trauma, and chaos. Oh my God, how we can use our precious creativity to constantly fix things and try to get back into harmony through the chaos and the confusion and all the things that comes with the love of calamity. And then materialism. Materialism, the heartbeat to get us back into harmony when we're focused on materialism says, never think that anything outside of yourself can be the source of your happiness. So about 20 years ago, a young married woman of two with children under the age of 10, and she was a top executive at one of the major companies in the Portland area. And her job required that she travel quite a bit, and she had to work long hours. So she walked into my office, she flopped down on the couch and started to cry. And I just waited. I want a divorce, she said. I hate the idea that my husband would have full custody of my two children, and I love them so much, but my motherly duties are not bringing me joy. And I feel like I'm walking around in a black and white movie, and I'm absolutely miserable, but mostly I am completely and totally exhausted. I waited. And then we started to chat. She realized that she was willing to throw in the towel and let go of everything that she loves so much and that she's worked so hard for in order to get back to some kind of harmony in her own life. I reminded her that her job and no corporation and no business is worth her health and well-being. So from my office, she called her HR department and they said, oh yeah, you have 90 days. You can get a 90 days well-being leave of absence. And quite frankly, we think you should. All you have to do is go to the doctors and he has to write up or she has to write up something that says you're in burnout and we'll let you go for 90 days. So that day in my office, we started to create a protocol for 90 days for her. And I made her promise that she would make no changes in her life for 90 days. So she went home and she said she came back at the end of the week. This was on a Monday. She came back Friday and she walked in. I was like, wow, you've been doing some resting. And she said, I slept the first 2 days. And I did a yoga class like you told me to. And I don't know about this meditation thing. I think I have a long way to go, but I started to play with my kids and, you know, I had a nice barbecue with my husband and I went, oh, so he's a good guy. I said, yeah, he's a good guy. So she worked her protocol of harmony for 90 days. Her husband came in. They did have a few issues, but nothing that would lead them into divorce court. And they worked out, he was hiding from his productivity too and his joy. He joined a baseball team and she joined yoga classes, which is always a thrill for me to hear another person has done that. She was actually an artist and she started to color. And she brought in her kids and they colored together. And She did go back to work, but she went back in a very different way. And I'm sure she's still there, and I'm sure she's still happily married, because at the end of the 90 days, they had worked through so much to get them back to themselves. Lao Tzu writes, and this is on page 53 in my book, The Trio of Treasures. Sometimes things are ahead and sometimes they are behind. Sometimes breathing is hard, sometimes it comes easily. Sometimes there's strength and sometimes there's weakness. Sometimes one is up and sometimes down. Therefore, the sage avoids extremes, excesses, and complacency. So here's what I know to be true about this subject. And obviously it's a passion of mine because I keep talking about it. Embracing simplicity in our fast-paced world of ours, it's still possible. So I have 3 questions to ask you. The first one, asking yourself, am I happy with the harmony in my own life? And number 2, what is cluttering my space, my heart, my mind today? One of the things I'm going to do this afternoon is declutter a whole area in my office. And the third question, most importantly, simplicity asks us to stop long enough and ask the question, is what I'm saying yes to bringing me joy? Have a great week. Live in harmony. Focus on harmony. Focus on simplicity. Clean up those piles and stay healthy and know how much I love you. Thanks for joining me. The true nature of our very being is to be in harmony.